Hi there, and welcome to my basic guide for the Necromancer class in Loop Hero. I'm Icon, and this video will guide you through all you need to know to play a successful Necromancer when you finally have unlocked him. This video is divided in 3 portions, so first I'll introduce the class. In the second part, we'll play 2 or 3 rounds on the loop, and I'm going to talk about the game behavior, the gear, and how to work around with the tiles in general. And the third portion of the video will be about the camp situation, which cards I think are pretty good and which are not. And yeah, we'll do a little bit of a summary afterwards. So let's get started, and I think the best explanations can be done while we are there. The Ancestral Crypt is kind of like the building you unlock with the character class, given the fact that you have built the Intel Center first. I might want to start here because I feel like the Ancestral Crypt is a very, very powerful building for the Necromancer, and we get HP for every enemy killed with a soul. We don't receive any further HP bonus from armor, but ha, look at us, no armor. That's why I really like that thing. And you also get 1 resurrection after your hero's death. That's basically 1 free retry, which is really big. So let's get into the first combat. So instead of attacking, the Necromancer is summoning minions which are fighting in his stead. What's also pretty clearly visible is that the monsters, well, they don't really prefer the Necromancer, but most of the time your character does most of the tanking for your minions. Gear-wise, we got 2 rings, an amulet, and the grimoire. The rings are, as you already know them, all random stats. The amulet provides magic HP, which are basically a shield which you get per fight. So every fight you get 28 HP, period. And the grimoire raises the skeleton level. Skeleton level is basically your damage stat for the Necromancer, because you can't really influence the damage of your minions in any other way than with the skeleton level. Well, there's 1 more stat which kind of like increases the damage, but that's an indirect thing. So let's try on a few things. It's also worth mentioning that attack speed is a very, very important stat for the Necromancer in general, because it doesn't influence your minions, as far as I know, but what it does is it increases your summoning speed. So the faster your attack speed, the faster you summon minions. So therefore I really consider it as a very, very vital stat for the Necromancer. So skeleton level, of course, I already talked about that. I consider this also as, well, it's a key stat. It's basically like the weapon damage on your gear. Without it, you will suffer a lot. So I hope I'll stumble across a piece of gear that I'm looking for quite soonish, but we'll keep talking about other things first. Since the Necromancer is kind of like, right now you're pretty much the tank for your minions. As you see here, sometimes the monsters also attack your minions. It is really random which target gets focused by the monsters in general, unless you get special minions. Special minions can be produced by obtaining skeleton or summoning quality. I hope I'll stumble across an item quite soon. But also what's happening here showcases quite brilliantly what's one of the biggest traits of the Necromancer class. I consider the Necromancer as one of the most item-dependent classes I've encountered in this game so far, because right now we are very, very weak. I have only a low amount of skeleton level, and I only work with basic minions. Once we get summon quality as a stat, we also unlock the ability to summon special minions. Here, summon quality, 22%. That means, basically, now whenever I summon a minion, I got a chance of 22% that this minion will be a special minion. Special minions can be fighters, which feature a high base damage, guardians, which automatically focus all the enemy attention on themselves, archers and mages. Archers and mages only happen when the field of monsters here is already full and they spawn ranged units supporting you. So the default maximum amount of skeletons you can have, you see here, oh, wonderful, you see here the Skeleton Warrior. The maximum amount of skeletons you can have by default is 2. That is by no means the maximum amount of skeletons the game allows you to have, though. So, basically, as far as I've seen, here goes the Skeleton Guard, much more HP, and it's always the first target. As far as I've seen, seems to be no real limit for the maximum amount of skeletons. You can acquire the maximum, you can increase the amount of skeletons in several ways. One of them is just being lucky and finding gear, which is, sometimes there is gear which just flat out increases the maximum amount of minions you can hold. And the other method are traits. There is one trait which just flat out gives you +1 minion, and there are also other traits that can work similarly. I don't want to spoil it too much. So, the basic mechanics behind the Necromancer are thus quite simple and clear. It is all about acquiring the necessary gear, first up. And sadly, like that, the Necromancer is one of the most gimped classes I've played so far, if they don't get the necessary stats they need. That's mainly because there is no substitution for summon quality. There's just none. And the comparison between the basic skeleton and the specialized skeletons is, I don't know, it's insane. The basic skeleton is so much weaker than the upgraded version of them that I personally consider summon quality as one of the most important stats. Summon quality and skeleton level are, in my opinion, the most vital stats. They even outshine the maximum amount of skeletons in some way that I want to say like this. If you have 4 skeletons which have no extra level and no summon quality, you won't be really happy with these. Why? Because it's all gated behind your attack speed. If your minions are too weak, it doesn't matter that you can control 5 of them, because the enemies will annihilate them way before you can rack up 5 of them. That's one thing you should keep in your mind. Therefore, I say summon quality, skeleton level, and max skeletons are closely knotted together, and it's hard to tell which one is the most important. Directly after that, I value attack speed as a very, very vital stat as well, because, like I mentioned, with attack speed you just get more minions in a shorter time, which is just super powerful. I'm not quite sure if the well, oh no, I am absolutely sure. The attacks per second don't increase with the attack speed bonus. I just remembered that I actually paid attention to that. So attack speed really only influences your own character. So after that's all been said and done, I want to talk a little bit about the tiles here as well. As you see, I'm placing down a lot of forest tiles because they just passively give attack speed. I consider them as a very, very powerful part for the Necromancer in general, because this way you can easily upgrade your attack speed without being bound to gear. Because with the Necromancer, your gear is already specified enough. So here we are, Ambitions of the Dead, Gift of Blood. So Edge of Impossible is one thing I really love. You get a chance to summon 2 extra minions when you're on max minions, and the Gift of Blood is also a alternative summon, and Ambitions of the Dead, I don't like that one too much. I personally feel like the traits which give you extra minions or extra summons are, in my humble opinion, the most attractive ones, and after that, well, decide for yourself. So, stat-wise, I always try to achieve a summon quality of at least 60%, preferably 80%. It's up to you how much you want, but I personally say the faster you can get your minions upgraded, the better. I dare say to... if you have enough summoning power to get specialized minions quickly enough, you basically have won your run. That's a little bit of a over-exaggeration, but if you're able to whip up a skeleton tank really, really quick, it's going to be very easy for you to survive. Sustain-wise, the regeneration stat is very powerful. I love to run HP per day setups here as well, but regeneration is one of my direct favorites. That's because you have access to virtual HP, and regeneration is really powerful because it will heal you even during combat until the virtual HP are depleted. And since we have a tank unit, whenever you are wounded and there's a tank on the board, you can rely on him to give you a little bit of a breather and heal up. That's why I personally say regen per sec is one of the most powerful stats of the Necromancer after all these summoning stats. So I personally say summoning stats first, then the regen, and after that go crazy, whatever feels good for you. I can't really say what's the best after that. Evasion is pretty powerful, of course, as well, because, you know, getting not hit is one of the best forms of defense. And I'd say everything after that is more or less a luxury stat. Alright, so we now will wait until we reach the campfire, and then we're gonna talk about tiles, cards, and all these things that are in between. As you see here, we're completely dominating the enemies with that kind of setup, and I won't be trading out summon quality for almost no base stats at all, because I always feel like summon quality is that powerful that I don't care if this thing gives me more maximum HP or whatever. As long as I can get those specialized minions as quick as possible, I'm good to go. One thing is worth mentioning though, as soon as you have 5 minions on the board and you have no summon quality, the skeletons in the back line will be ranged minions always, no matter if you have summon quality or not. I think the archer seems to be the basic unit and the mage seems to be the improved summon quality unit, but I have yet to prove that. Alright, now let's get over here. You see the crypt has, of course, the cemetery as a preliminary thing. I strongly suggest to run the intel center alongside with the crypt, and the forest has proven as one of the most powerful allies for the Necromancer, because like I said before, attack speed is that powerful. The other things here are the same, just like for all other classes. I can only say the more buildings you have, the easier the game gets. So let's get over here. I want to talk about a few things. First up, weaknesses of the Necromancer. Spider Cocoon and Swamp and all these fields which spawn fast hitters and small hitters are one of the most problematic things, because the Necromancer needs time to build up, and swarming, quick attacking enemies are kind of like one of his biggest weaknesses. Therefore, I really like to avoid the Spider Cocoon fields. I just added them in to be talking about that. I also felt like the Necromancer was extremely powerful against anything that was slower attacking, or basically everything which is not a fast attacker. So be careful around goblins. They are really, really dangerous for your campaign as well. And besides that, I realized that the Storm Temple is not really interesting at all for him. That's because Storm Temple strikes 2 random targets, and therefore I felt like Storm Temple is best for single fighters, because if I have minions, it only increases the chance, it only provides an extra chance that my own people get hit. If I'm only one unit, it has a lower chance of hurting me, if that makes sense. Apart from that, you are pretty free to pick whatever you want. I want to talk about the beacons, last but not least, because I personally feel like the beacons are one of the most beneficial things for a Necromancer to pick, because the attack speed speeds up your own summoning speed and benefits your minions. Unlike all other classes, you multiply the benefits of the beacon. Every other class only has the benefit of the beacon on himself and a multiplied benefit on the enemy side. Therefore, beacons are... I don't like to use them that much for the other classes, but for the Necromancer, really good thing to use. Apart from that, go tanky. Therefore, I love meadows and chrono crystals and all these things that make you rack up a lot of HP. And last but not least, I really love to avoid the wheat fields. Because from chapter 2 on, the minions of the wheat fields have a attack which attacks everything on the battlefield. So that means these enemies here are excellent at hurting you and your minions at the same time. That's why I actually run villages, but without the fields, because really I felt like the wheat field enemies have a horrible synergy with the Necromancer class. And that pretty much concludes the basic tutorial. One last thing that I want to mention is I felt like the chapter 2 boss was insanely easy to beat with a Necromancer, so if you're struggling with that, give it a try. It was really helpful for me. I don't want to talk too much about supplies and these things because I feel like that's a topic for an advanced guide, which will follow one day. Okay, enough of that. I hope that was helpful for you, and feel free to leave a comment down below if you have anything to say. If you have any questions or any knowledge to add, I'd be very happy, because this is not a competition. I'd be most happy if we accumulate a lot of Necromancer knowledge below this video, so everybody stopping by on this video can dig deep into everything he or she wants to know about that class. Also, if you like that, give this video a thumbs up, and also feel free to check out my channel, subscribe to it if you want to stay updated. I do a lot of content based around strategy, sandbox, roguelikes, all the jazz. Check it out, maybe there's something you like there. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you're going to enjoy Loop Hero. See you soon, bye bye.